The world's first titanium-faced widebody, the Neonic Flare 16mm, has officially dropped today. I've had this paddle for well over 3 weeks now, and after my gameplay experience with it, this feels like an opportunity to make this video a little bit different. Most paddles get reviewed on this channel either because 1, they're going to be really popular, or 2, they play really well and I think people need to know about them, and ideally some combination of the two. And the Neonic Flare 16mm is absolutely no exception to that. I have no doubt in my mind that the full reviews that come are going to be overwhelmingly positive. I think it's one of the only wide body paddles that you can put in the all-court leaning power category right now. And in my personal opinion, it definitely has the potential to be one of the best wide body, or technically standard, shape paddles that's been released thus far. So keeping all this in mind, I thought, why not make this video for people who are currently considering buying wide body paddles, which are currently having their moment, and I think many of you will be. It's very easy with every single new wide body coming out to talk about how good each one is, but I think I have an opportunity right now to make a direct comparison to help you guys make a decision. In this video, I'm primarily going to focus on the Neonic Flare because it was just released. However, I'm also going to draw a direct comparison to its clear competitor in the market, the 11624 Monarch All-Court. In my opinion, if you're looking for an all-court leaning power wide body, these are your only two best options on the market. And I'm going to help you guys figure out which one is going to be most worth it for you. So let's talk about it. Let's start with a better look at the Flare. It's being marketed as the first wide-body titanium paddle on the market. On paper, the dimensions match up with a standard shape paddle. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it is the first one to be inlaid with a gold polyester thread inside the carbon fiber face, which is referred to in the industry as a titanium weave. On paper, the Flare boasts the main characteristics that make wide bodies so attractive, with their low swing weight, high twist weight properties. And while low swing weight paddles don't normally hit the ball too hard, a combination of the elongated 5.5-inch grip, which pushes the balance point of the paddle a little bit higher up the head than usual, combined with the unibody triple face layer construction, which includes a layer of fiberglass, this paddle did produce about 53.1 miles per hour of average ball speed during my serve testing. For reference, that's only 0.4 miles per hour behind the 11624 Monarch All-Court, which itself was only 0.3 miles per hour behind the new Paddletech Bantam TKOCs. This is also one of the higher spinning paddles of this shape that I've tested recently at 2,143 RPMs on average, being beaten only by the Valère Mach 2s and the Spartus Apollo. What I can say about the on-court performance of the Neonic Flare is that it's very unique in comparison to the standard and wide-body shape paddles that it's going to be compared to. The usual intention of going with a standard or wide-body shape paddle is to increase your hand speed and increase your stability on off-center shots, normally indicated by a high twist weight measurement over 7. And while the Flare definitely lives up to its stability expectations with its twist weight measurement at 7.16, especially on things like mid-court resets where that really counts, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a paddle that really increases your hand speed in any significant way. People underestimate the impact of a high balance point on how the paddle feels to swing. The Flare's balance point leans 1.4 inches head heavy, which is definitely above average, and then uses 162 watts of power for elbow dominant swings like rolls and volleys, and 168 watts of power for shoulder dominant swings like drives and dinks, according to Brafitti's hand speed index. And both of those values are around the average for what I've seen, so there really weren't many hand speed improvements made with the Flare. Probably the two biggest selling points with the Flare as a standard shape paddle option are its high spin and power relative to the vast majority of what's out there. The face of the Flare doesn't feel overly textured or gritty, yet I was still able to achieve average spin rates of 2,143 RPM. And what that tells me is most likely due to the face sheet's layup, with the fiberglass layer coming third all the way at the bottom of those sheets. We're most likely seeing most of that spin come from increased dwell time, where the ball really gets to sink into the face before hitting that fiberglass layer and popping back off. If you were trying to compare what it feels like to achieve power with the Neonic Flare to, say, the Monarch All-Court, I would say that the All-Court has power that is a little bit easier to achieve and feels a bit more effortless, whereas with the Flare, the power really comes through when you're in positions to plow through the ball like on drives. Lots of paddle companies will talk about their paddles playing soft on soft shots and harder on hard shots for more power. And I think the Neonic Flare definitely does have these properties due to that face layup. One of the features that makes the Core's Shapeshifter such a popular choice for some people is that you're still able to achieve power on hard swings with the paddle and yet still maintain a more plush ball feel experience that's a little bit more pleasant than the more firm paddles out there. I think the Neonic Flare also has these properties, and I think the primary reason is that both of those paddles employ a 3-face sheet layer method, with the fiberglass layer being the bottom layer closest to the core. This means that the power is most often achieved when you're really hitting shots plowing through the ball like on drives. It's power to me that feels a little bit more predictable and also gives a more pleasant ball feel plush experience that makes the sweet spot feel bigger than it really is. Now, the Monarch All-Court is being hailed as the best paddle in what could be one of the best lineups released in 2024. However, I still think there are particular kinds of players that would appreciate 3 specific characteristics that would make the Neonic Flare more worth it. And those 3 key characteristics, when compared with other standard shape paddles on the market, are 1, being able to achieve higher power than probably 90% of those, with the Monarch All-Court being one exception, while maintaining that plush and more pleasant ball feel experience. Secondly, having a handle that you can actually overwrap a little bit longer than the All-Court so that you have even more room for two-handed shots. And secondly, that price tag coming in at under $120 with code RAFA. It only makes a $10 difference in comparison to the All-Court, but that is significant for some people, including myself. And while I'm at it, a fourth reason why somebody might go for the Flare in general is purely for aesthetics. I think there's been a lot of discussion around the strange wide body shapes that have come out this year, including 11624's proprietary shape for the Monarch, and we don't need to discuss what the Spartus Apollo resembles. However, Neonic comes in with a paddle that shape-wise stands in with the rest, but still stands out with this gold titanium weave. And even though this gold titanium weave is actually gold-colored polyester thread, as proven by Lewis and Justin over on the Pickleball Effect podcast, it doesn't deny the fact that they still look really slick on the paddle. And I'm happy to say that after playing with this paddle for such a long time, that color and that shine that you get in the light doesn't really degrade over time. All right, I think that essentially wraps up this discussion. So if you're thinking about getting a new wide body or standard shape paddle, I hope this video helps make a decision of whether or not it's going to be most worth it for you to go out and get this brand new Neonic Flare, or perhaps go with one of the direct competitors, of which there are definitely many on the market. And with that, I hope you all stay happy and healthy and out on the courts. Until the next one. Peace.